Hello! This video is on solubility curves. What we got right here is a nice solubility graph where we're looking at the relationship between temperature and grams of solute per 100 grams of solvent. Got a bunch of different substances being represented here. Most of them have an increasing temperature in correlation with a increasing grams of solute. When we have solids, they are going to increase in solubility when you increase the temperature. It's kind of like taking Kool-Aid and dissolving sugar in it. That sugar is going to dissolve a lot quicker, and you're going to be able to dissolve a lot more sugar in that if you have hot water as opposed to cold water. Then we got NH3 in this example. This is the only one that's going against the trend. It's actually decreasing in solubility as you increase the temperature. And this is a gas. And that's how all gases act. Nice example would be taking a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi on a nice hot summer day and leaving it out. What's going to happen after 2 hours? It's going to be flat because of all the carbonation or CO2 will have left it. So, just to recap, as you increase temperature, solids will increase in solubility, meaning they'll be able to have more of it dissolve in same number of grams of solvent. And then gases are going to decrease in solubility as you increase the temperature. Alright, now that we got the main stuff, we're going to start trying to answer these questions using this graph. Which salt is least soluble in water at 20 degrees Celsius? Alright, so we're looking at 20 degrees Celsius. The one that can carry the least amount of solute looks like is this guy, KClO3. So we're going to write KClO3. Next one, how many grams of potassium chloride? Well, taking a step back, least amount of solute is KClO3. What would the most be? It would be Ki. Moving on to the next one. How many grams of potassium chloride can be dissolved in 200 grams of water at 80 degrees Celsius? So potassium chloride, remember that's KCl. We're looking for KCl, it's this line right here. And 80 degrees Celsius. Alright, we got 80 degrees Celsius. It looks like 50 grams of solute. I'm going to write that right over here, 50 grams KCl. But it says dissolves in 200 grams of water. This graph is representation of 100 grams of solvent or water. So basically you take any answer you found from this graph and you multiply it by 2, because 100 times 2 is your 200. So 50 times 2 is going to be 100 grams of KCl. Alright, number 3. At 40 degrees Celsius, how much potassium nitrate can be dissolved in 300 grams of water? Potassium nitrate is this guy right here. And we're talking about 40 degrees Celsius. 40 degrees, looks like it's just above the 40. I'm going to say it's around 42. But it's out of 300 grams of solvent. This chart's out of 100 grams of solvent. So we're going to have to multiply this by 3 so that we have 300. This 42 will multiply by 3, which equals 126 grams of potassium nitrate. Could dissolve in 300 grams of water. Number 4. Which salt shows the least change in solubility from 0 to 100? 0 to 100, the one that hardly goes up and down at all, looks like it's NaCl is the flat one. So that is NaCl for our answer. Alright, moving down to number 5, says at 30 Celsius, 90 grams of sodium nitrate is dissolved in 100 grams of water. Is this solution saturated, unsaturated, or supersaturated? It's important to know the difference between these three terms. First of all, saturated means that you have the max amount of solute that can possibly dissolve in this set amount of solvent. It's represented by being found on the solubility line, solubility curve. If we're talking about, in this case, sodium nitrate, anywhere on this line would be considered saturated. If you're looking at unsaturated, unsaturated means that you still can add solute to it, meaning extra solute added will dissolve. And that's represented by everything below the line. All of this stuff, if you had a dot anywhere on here, it would be considered unsaturated. for sodium nitrate. Supersaturated just means it has more than the max amount of solute that a solution can hold. Any dot above the solubility line of NaNO3 would be considered supersaturated. How do you form a supersaturated solution? What you have to do is first heat up the solution, and by heating it up, you're increasing the amount of solute that can dissolve. You then are going to let it cool down undisturbed, and it's going to have more than the max amount. So we're comparing this to NaNO3. Let's say you heat it up to 80 degrees Celsius and then let it cool down to 20. It has all of this extra solute, more than the max amount. And what they do in making rock candy is they take a little seed crystal, a little sugar, and get it started, and all of this extra solute would then crystallize out and form a nice little rock candy to eat. Alright, so going back to this question, we got 30 degrees Celsius, 90 grams of sodium nitrate is dissolved in 100 grams of water. Alright, 30 degrees Celsius, looks like we're right here. That's just a smidge under the solubility line. So we would call this unsaturated. Alright, next, a saturated solution of potassium chloride is formed from 100 grams of water. If the saturated solution is cooled from 80 degrees Celsius to 50, how many grams of precipitate are formed? Alright. Lost my track. I feel like there's... Okay. We got 80 degrees Celsius to 50. There's 80 degrees Celsius, and we're talking about potassium chlorate, which is this guy right here. Moving it back down. We're going from 80, it looks like that's 40. And we're going down to 50, which means I got 20 grams of solute. The difference between 40 and 20 is 20 grams. So that would be my answer. 20 grams of precipitate is formed, meaning it's just going to settle to the bottom. Alright, almost done. We got question 7. What compound shows a decrease in solubility from 0 to 100? So from 0 to 100, the only one that's decreasing in solubility is NH3. Which salt is most soluble at 10 degrees Celsius? At 10 degrees Celsius, the salt that is most soluble is potassium iodide, Ki. Which salt is least soluble at 50 degrees Celsius? Right, 50 degrees Celsius, least soluble. Looks like we're talking about KClO3. And the last one, which salt is least soluble at 90? We're talking about 90, it would be NH3, but NH3 is not a salt. In order to be a salt, you have to have a positive cation connected with a negative anion. And NH3 does not fit that bill. So we go to the next one. Looks like it's NaCl. So, which salt is least soluble at 90 degrees Celsius? The answer would be NaCl. And those are solubility curves. And that is all I have to say for this video. Thank you for watching.